Hello and welcome to my show. My name is Appleby, and this is the Appleby Hour. Now, today I would like to, I don't know, get a little personal. My goal here is to sort of demystify things because, I don't know, the whole schizo label. It seems like a lot of people really don't get it. The zeitgeist kind of gets it when we call things schizo, like we're correctly identifying a pattern, I think. But no, what I'd like to present schizo, like the schizo spectrum, as a counterpart to the autism spectrum. You know, this can be thought of as horizontal thinking with the schizos versus vertical thinking with the autists. So in horizontal thinking and lateral thinking, you're jumping from place to place, right? You're you're making connections. You're the conspiracy theorist with the string. You're tying things together where maybe others wouldn't see the tie. And with vertical thinking, with autistic thinking, you're sort of you're building up your knowledge. You're diving deep into a thing and you know every little thing about it. That's why autistic people have these special interests. And the terms I kind of like for this because it really does sort of apply to me. I identify strongly with the Dionysus archetype. But the schizo side of the spectrum would be called Dionysian, and the autistic side is Apollonian after Apollo. So that's where we're at. And I'm definitely not the furthest along you can get, not even close, on the schizo side. I think I identify most with the term schizotypal, although I've never received that diagnosis. That is, closest to what I consider myself to be. And I just want to go through my life because a lot of these things, they were most intense in childhood when I was younger, at least. So let's go through them. So it kind of started when at least I don't remember having any other hallucinatory experiences, any positive additions to reality. And when I say positive, I don't mean that they were good. I mean that they were extra, something on top of base reality. And to start off, it was when I was thrown into elementary school, and I was in that environment where people are, they're socializing and games are being played, and I have a very high emotional content. I'm a very my I feel my emotions very strongly, and so anytime I would get excited during most of my elementary school years, that excitement would quickly turn almost seamlessly to anger. And so it wouldn't even be that I was angry at a particular person. The thing I'd like to say is like white hot. Like it was almost like, in some ways I romanticize it because I miss it, because I have my anger under control. Like I have anger issues now, but I always have, but I don't have anger management issues anymore. I've figured out how to deal with it. And so I haven't had that experience of losing myself into the anger. It's almost like, imagine, like, your base state is black, and then almost like an iron, like a hot poker, right? And you heat up, and it turns this dull red, and then slowly it starts glowing more, and now it's fire truck red, and you take it further, it's this brilliant orange, and even further, it's yellow, it's molten, and then push it even more, it's this bright, hot white. And that is what I'm talking about. That's the place that I would be. It felt like time would freeze and the air was crystal. It's exhilarating. It really is. It's addictive even. And I knew I felt this way and I knew that I shouldn't. And I always regretted what I did. I was the schoolyard bully, not because I enjoyed picking on people, but because I couldn't have any sort of positive adrenaline experience without losing my shit and beating up on people just because it's like, I don't know, it's automatic. It's like fight or flight, but there's no threat. So it's fight, fight, fight. Um, and that's where it started. I internalized there's something wrong with me. I'm a monster. I'm I must be. How could I act this way? It's inhuman. And so I took on the image of one of the things that is, the most disgusting thing to me. Uh, as a great man once said, evil given flesh, the spider. um, and I have a phobia of spiders. I can deal with them. I can be around them, but I really don't enjoy killing them. Uh, well, I mean, okay, I can be around them for like a moment. I do need them gotten rid of, and I don't would rather not do it myself. I did almost crash my car once because there was a spider. It's actually wigging me out just talking about them. Ugh. But anyway, so I took this image of this monstrous thing that I hated, these spiders, and I was living in a trailer at the time that was just infested with them. And uh, so I took that image into myself, and I had these somatic, like phantom limb almost, the body plan hallucinations where I was sure, and I say was, but really, I can feel them now. I feel like my back is not like. Have you ever seen Men in Black 3, Boris the Animal? The way that his body is just a bunch of segmented legs that sort of join together to form a solid surface. That's what I feel like my back is. That it's a bunch of thick spider limbs that are just folded in, right? And the idea in my head was that, like, for some reason, oh, ugh, ugh, talking, like I said, it wigs me out. But I was convinced that just outside of my field of vision, right behind where I couldn't see, these limbs were doing their thing, right? And that everyone could see what a horrible creature I was. And for some reason, it kept it from me. I had to deceive myself to believe that I was, in fact, just an innocent little boy. Um, and I would spend hours. I would take my shirt off in front of the mirror and I would just spin in circles, trying to catch them, uh, folding back up. I needed to know because I could feel them, as much as I could feel my arm. And, today I suffer a lot with back problems. And I think a lot of it is because I feel like I'm constantly tensing these phantom limbs and keeping them folded away. Yeah, it's truly kind of a, I don't know. It's an interesting experience. That's for sure. But that isn't. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have a look at my notes. Can get a little scatterbrained. Yeah. Okay. Next is the dream. All right. So, in that same trailer, same time I lived there twice. Once as a baby, and later as after my parents got divorced. Um, but in that same trailer, I had this dream, and this is the only dream you're going to be hearing about because none of my dreams, while they might be disturbing, they have interesting elements, whatever. None were like this. I've never had a dream like this since. It was just, I wasn't even there. I didn't have a body. I was just observing this as if I was looking at it on a TV screen, or it was a painting in a frame. And it was these abstract shapes, and sometimes they did look like streaks of paint or static, and all black and white, no color. And this horrible music. I I haven't even talked about the music in a while. Again, it's another thing that's just oof. Um, but no, the music, and I can't even describe it to you. I've tried, I'm not musical, but I know how to play the saxophone a little. And back when I did, I tried to work out the melody. What was it? But it always eluded me. I can't even describe a mood to you. It really is. It feels beyond my capability to fit into words. And this music was playing, these abstract shapes were popping in and out, and static and streaks, and then I saw it. A square circle. I kid you not. I I again, another thing I cannot describe to you. But it was there as plain as day. It was square and circle all at once. This black and white thing right in the center of my vision, and I woke up in a cold sweat. If any eldritch monster ever tried to contact me, that was it. And actually, that was sort of the beginning. This is the next thing. Uh, well, before we get to that, there's one more story. But the next thing is aliens. But let's get through this story first. So I was laying in bed, facing the door. There's a window just exactly centered to the door into the hallway, right? Uh, in this window, there sits a bouncy ball. The bouncy ball starts moving of its own accord, like just vibrating at first, and then just a little jump, and it's over here, it's over there, so jump, 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 but it never left the sill, and it just kept gaining energy, almost like you were watching a student's animation project in reverse. The ball gains energy, and eventually it's just like racquetball. It's like pong between the two sides of the windowsill, and it just keeps going, and it smacking all four sides now, just violently. Mm. And just the same way it wound up, it winds down and it comes to rest back in the same spot. And then the ball unfurls, and it's a spider. And the spider crawls down into the shadows, never to be seen. And I wake up the next morning, after I've laid in bed for hours, terrified. I eventually pass out, and I wake up the next morning, and the first thing I do is I walk out. I'm the first one up. I walk out to the windowsill. There's no ball anywhere. There was never a bouncy ball at all. I thought it was one of those blue. Are they racket balls? I don't know. I remember them from my childhood. Maybe you do too. Um, so yeah, that one also particularly stuck with me. All right, now on to the alien stuff. Ugh. Another thing, I hate that I have to film at night. Whatever, I can't get too in my head. The alien stuff. Um, so I began to have these dreams, these piecemeal recollections that I had been abducted, and and I remember once there was a weird rectangle of skin missing, like a perfect 2 by 1 rectangle on my arm, and it was just the top layer. It didn't even hurt, but it was just perfect 90-degree angles. The skin was pinker there, and I showed my mom because I needed like confirmation. I needed to know, was like, is this thing really? Is this on my arm? Is this real? Um, and she was like, huh, that is weird, and then like pushed it from her thoughts. And um but that, yeah. So the thing with, I said I wouldn't mention dreams, and I guess these kind of are, but it also felt like I had these repressed memories that during the day I felt like I had experienced something in the last night, and just didn't know how to process it, didn't know what to do with it. I I remember there was one dream in particular, and I think this was just a manifestation of whatever those experiences had been in reality. I don't believe I was actually abducted, but I do believe that I had abduction experiences, and this dream was sort of downstream of those experiences. It was just a normal dream, and it was almost as if I were floating. My feet weren't touching the ground, and I sort of left my room and went down the hall and into the living room, into the kitchen, which was at the end of the trailer. And there in the kitchen, I saw as I approached that the light was on, and there were, classic gray aliens dancing in a circle and drinking my mom's wine. And I didn't really have control of my body. I was just like hanging there limp. And I couldn't see because I couldn't look down. So maybe I didn't even have a body. It was just a presence. But I remember I was like trying to talk to them. It's like, hey, you can't, that's my mom's wine. You can't touch that. You can't have that. And they just laughed at me. And it was just, ugh, just the mocking of these things that had tormented me for, months at this point. Just terrible. But whatever. That's sort of what happened in the trailer. But there's another thing before, because I moved to Vegas after that trailer. Uh, the music from that dream would come to me in my waking life. And I would instantly, when the music started playing in my head, like my internal, when you get a song stuck in your head, but it was the music, instant disassociation, like I was on autopilot. Uh, and it was always so terrifying. I was like, who, like, what's happened to me? I can't control myself. I, I can't, I'm talking to my mom, I'm smiling, I'm doing the things that I would do, but I'm not part of it. It was so strange. Um, as if I was viewing myself from outside myself. I guess I should say that for people who don't know what disassociation is. Um, Not like literally physically outside of my body, but outside of like my control, outside of my ego, still inside my head, but not a part of myself. Um, and I had this sickening notion, and it makes me, I feel reluctant even to talk about it now because uh, I worry that it'll come back and that it will. Well, here's the sickening notion: is that if the music were allowed to play and I would go on like that too long, I'd walk off. Like I felt like it wanted to take me somewhere, like it was calling to me. And if I didn't get back control, then it would eventually. This autopilot me, would slip out when mom wasn't looking and walk off into the woods, up into the mountains or something. And who knows where I'd go. Anyway, so we moved to Vegas. In Vegas, I have my last abduction experience, and it's the most vivid, uh, but it's also the one that sort of convinced me, solidified for me that they couldn't be real. Uh, I don't remember what they did to me, but I remember recovering on the table and coming to, and I saw there was a pregnant woman next to me. She was still under, and they had her womb cut open, and I could see the fat, and it was so bright yellow, like gold under the lights, and and beneath that the muscle of her womb, and then beneath that the uh, oh, what is it called? The the thing that breaks when your water breaks, whatever that lining is that envelops the fetus, and then the fetus inside. And it was alive, and it was squirming, and they were examining it. And that's the image that really stuck with me. Um, it was, but, but it's also the image that convinced me that it can't be real because you can't see it. It's just off camera. But I have a copy of Da Vinci's notebook and notebooks, his sketches and such. And I have since I was very young. And I always remembered that sketch of the pregnant woman being dissected. Uh, that had always stuck with me. I always found it quite evocative. And it was exactly the same, but rendered in 3D with all the realism you could ever want. um, so yeah, that was the last Alien thing. The music kept going, but that same house where I had that last Alien experience was the last time I felt like that the pull of the music. Um, so they kind of they kind of start together and they kind of end together. Last the dream comes, the music is introduced, the aliens come shortly afterwards, the aliens stop, and the music has its last hurrah. Gone. And it was very condensed too. It was like a solid month where I was having episodes, multiple of these music episodes a week. And I never told anyone about them because I didn't really have the words to. I didn't know how to describe what it was. I think maybe I tried once, but I kind of bailed on it. But anyway, that's sort of, we can ease off the heavier stuff, the stuff that really makes me squirm. At least I think. Let me look at these again. Oh, I forgot one. I forgot one in. Actually, no. I think this did happen over the summer after I moved to Vegas. No, this is still in order. All right. So I was at my dad's house and we had loft beds, right? So, and this, I would have been around 12. Um, so loft beds way too close to the ceiling. We always wake up and hit our heads. We made the loft beds ourselves. Um, but I was sitting there on my Kindle Fire watching texture pack reviews from that one channel that did that. Um, can't remember the name, but I liked him a lot. I was a 12-year-old boy into Minecraft. What are you gonna do? And my dad always, even to this day, he buys these white puffy sheets that kind of keep you cool. I love them personally. I need to get some for myself, and I've been saying that for years. So whatever, Patreon. um, but so I'm laying in bed, and it's like it's stormy outside, and I'm watching this video, and then I see something in the ripples of the fabric. There's a there's like a hand, and I'm like, oh, that's weird, and it's like another child's hand, and I'm like, ugh, blanket's freaking me out. I'm used to this shit at this point, but then it reaches up and it touches me, and that I was not expecting. And that's the only tactile hallucination. Like the arm thing, like I said, that's a somatic hallucination. I've only ever had this one tactile hallucination where something touched me and I felt it. And it was like, okay, I shouldn't have said that I'm done with the stuff that's wigging me out. Um, so this white, like sheet white, matching the blankets, thing is like creeping up over my loft bed, which is like at least 6 feet off the ground, but it has like a 5-year-old child's hand, and it touches me, and I freak the fuck out. And I hear this sound like something running down the hall and out the front door, you know, out into the night. And that's as much as I want to continue speaking on that subject. uh, right. And then, okay, so I'm back in Vegas. It's been a few years since anything has happened. And this one is a lot more neutral, a lot more, maybe even positive, you know? So I was raised up, okay, I went to Nazarene Sunday school. If you don't know, Nazarenes are a Wesleyan holiness movement. They're sort of, they existed before the Methodists. Uh, we I think we formed like a congregation with the Methodists or whatever that's called, but we ourselves aren't Methodists. We're the Methodists before Methodists were cool. We don't do speaking in tongues, but we're all about the Holy Spirit and this idea of total sanctification. Now, I know all this as an adult, but I don't think it was ever actually explained to me as a child, except through implication. And the idea of total sanctification is that the Holy Spirit will fill you up, and you won't be able to sin because you're like walking with God's grace. You're a warrior for God. But anyway, so that's the religious context. My parents were actually agnostic, and my dad put me in Sunday school to help with my public speaking. Definitely worked. And my mom put me in to keep my great aunt happy. So whatever. But they were both agnostic, which I was very surprised when I told them. I'm like, guys, I'm an atheist. I thought they'd be upset, but they're like, yeah, we kind of are too. And I'm like, why have I been going to church? That's so strange. um, but whatever. So I'm in Vegas. I'm at my aunt's house, and these Mormon missionary people are coming over. I can't remember what exactly happened where I happened to be there at the time that they were coming over, but they had this propaganda video, and I don't even remember the contents of the propaganda video, but they put it on, and I'm like leaning back against their counter island with their fancy granite countertop, and it happens. It's like, I said earlier when I was angry, it was like everything, like the world turned to crystal, like everything was is so clear and simple. And in this, it was just this, I don't know, it was gold, it was everything was full of this energy, and it lifted me up, and I felt like my body was being held together by the hand of God, and I was so much more firm, I stood so much stronger, I was like I was sanctified, and I walked with the Holy Spirit, and nothing could stop me, and even while it was happening, I'm like, okay, this is weird. Like I'm looking at it like it's a hallucination. I didn't say anything. I played it really cool. I didn't want anyone to know that edgy atheist Ethan was having a religious experience. Um, but yeah, it really was. It was enveloping like a hug everywhere, but also like it lifting you up, holding you together, just affirming. That's the word I've been looking for. Affirming. And it was truly a magnificent experience. I can understand why religious people would chase after that. Um, I don't think it's an excuse, but I do understand. Now, what's next on the docket? Oh, this is a fun one. So the have you guys ever played Until Dawn? It's a game about you're like stuck with Wendigos. I don't remember every detail, but I don't want to spoil anyway. But there's a Wendigo in the game that used to be one of the main character, like the ensemble cast, one of their friends, and she had a butterfly tattoo. And this is the only time I've ever experienced sleep paralysis. This is after we moved from Las Vegas back to Wyoming, back to Sheridan. Um, and this the Wendigo from the game comes crawling into my room, and if you don't know, they're really long and spindly, like zombies, basically. And it was really weird. I could see the polygons, and I could see the butterfly tattoo, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm having a sleep paralysis demon that's the Wendigo from Until Dawn. That is so crazy. So I was actually kind of amused by it. I didn't take it too seriously. I'm like, okay, well, I know I have all the information. I know what's going on here. I guess this will end. And it did. She like scrambled around the room, around the bed, but never got onto the bed. Maybe I would have freaked out a little more if she had like sat on top of me, like the sleep paralysis demon in that one painting that everyone loves so much. Um, so yeah, that's that story. Nothing too crazy there. Now, one upside to being so open to these extra hallucinatory things entering your reality is that weed is actually like a mild hallucinogen for me. And so when I moved to Colorado, when I moved out, um, and I had access to weed, I would use it like that. I would take big doses of edibles. And, I can hear like auditory hallucinations, never voices, but sometimes I'll hear like, oh, the walls are creaking and it's like, oh, they're moving up and I can hear the creak and or it's like it's birds chirping and it's dolphins, it's nice stuff. So that's the auditory part. But the other thing is I seem to be really prone to these somatic hallucinations. So I had the two main ones. I had one where I felt like I was like lifting my spirit out of my body, and it was like heat like I'd never experienced before without pain. It was like I was about to astral project, like I was ripping my form, my my soul from my body. I was like, my arms stayed down, but I was ripping them out, and it's like there were these strings connecting them, like it was almost gory. um, and yeah, just the parts of me of my soul that were exposed to the open air, it was like hot like I'd never experienced. And I sort of perceived the color pink along with them. Not that I saw that. Again, nothing visual, but uh, that it felt like that light sort of pink that a hot thing would get to, certain hot things where it's glowing pink. Uh, so that's one. The other one is like my skin would become like ferrofluid. So like my entire body would have this spiky sort of body plan, and that was very interesting. We've reached the minor stuff here. And then I never experienced, well, actually maybe this isn't true. My paranoia has definitely gotten worse after uh, weed. But I guess I was always a little paranoid. I don't know, what's the normal amount of paranoia? um but yeah, so I sort of, especially when I'm recording videos, like the other night I was recording and it was like windy out, and so my door would creak every once in a while, and I really had to like portion out. It's like, okay, 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 like I've worked up an hour, and now I'm ready to record. I know that there's no one out there. I'm ready to record. you know, let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hit the space bar. Oh, hey everybody! This is welcome to the Apple Hour. Um, but yeah, so that's it. That's what I have to give to you today. I just want to demystify, what it's sort of like to live with these things, and I don't think that I'm done, but I do think that seeking out rationality and understanding that reality is not the world as it is, but rather the world as your mind has constructed it for you, can help people who experience hallucinations to understand that they aren't real and to keep them under control. Like I said, I still, especially if I like that's another thing with weed is the somatic hallucinations. I can use weed to relax those spider limbs, and I can actually like get them to come out and stretch, and it feels good. It helps my back relax, um, because I'm holding that hallucination in my back tension. So that's normally how I experience it, is just like this horrible tension in my back. But if I get high enough, I can open those up and stretch them out. And I'm a supporter of transhumanism, and I would like to get like some spider limbs back there eventually, so that I can, like, I don't know, have something to map on these feelings onto, and then maybe my back will not hurt so bad. Um, but that's a total aside. Like I said, I said what I need to say, and I would love to hear what you have to add in the comments. Spread it around, because YouTube is not going to do it for me. And thank you for watching. I mean it. It's it wasn't easy. I'm real tingly. Feel like every arm hair is a spider, and I feel like my back wants to unfold, and I feel like the aliens are coming for me. Uh, but no music, so that's good. I'll see you in the next one.